Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to another OUYA video. Today, let's look at Moonlight walks. Can't think of a more perfect game. It's midnight. Got my whiskey here. Advanced dialogues. Select choices. Show prior dialogues. Game menu. Okay. Gotcha. So pretty much O's the only button I really need to do. Oh, is this a dating sim? American Bishudo presents. Bishujo. Bishujo. I should know how to say that. Start game. It was the summer before I started college. I had spent the past 2 years studying, taking tests, and applying for administration. Now, for the first time in a while, I had a little downtime, so I decided to take the opportunity and explore America. But since I was broke, my plans were quickly scaled down to spending the summer at my aunt and uncle's house, on a small island known as North Sand Island. North Sand Island was a barrier island in the Atlantic Ocean. It was remote enough that there wasn't even a bridge to it, just a ferry that ran a few times a day. Being such a small island, there wasn't all that much to do, but the solitude was nice, and I found a way to pass time. Ways to pass the time. Who reads? One thing I did was take pictures with my digital camera. Hey, that's what I do. On the night of the full moon, I decided I wanted to capture the moonrise. So I went out to the beach just before the moon came up, which would actually be sunset if you're talking about a full moon. Hate to be scientific about it. Set up my camera on a tripod and lock it in the appropriate shutter speed and f-stop, which I do a small f-stop and a quick shutter speed. Actually, no, you want to do it large, because trust me, I've taken pictures of the moon. It's very bright. You want it quick. Anyways, every few seconds as the moon rose, I used the remote that came with my camera to snap another frame showing the moon and its reflection in the water. I envy you. I can't get any water here in Arizona to do that off of. It only took a few minutes for the moon, sorry my mouse, to rise over the horizon, but I kept at it for a while longer. Finally, I was done. I started to pack up my camera and my tripod to get ready to head back to my aunt's and uncle's house. Who says aunt's and uncle's house? You just usually say one or the other. Anyways, that's when I first saw her. In the distance, I could see someone else walking down the... Wait a minute, in the distance, I could see someone else walking down the beach. It seems weird. You say you saw her, and then I could see someone else walking. Is it her or someone else just seeing it? Weird proposition there. I could tell that it was probably a girl or a woman for the long white dress she wore, or a tranny. But from the distance, it was hard to tell anything else about her. I don't know. It looks like she has gray or purple hair, pale skin, and black buttons. I decided to stay a bit to see who it was. In all the times I've gone out stargazing, I've never met anyone just walking down the beach in the middle of the night. At this late hour, most people were either at home or in town with other people. You hardly ever saw people by themselves. Said a person by himself, I should note. She's probably thinking the same thing. Who's the creepy guy with the camera taking pictures at night? The only time I've ever seen someone else on the beach at night would be when they are watching the stars or the satellites go by. But those people stay still and look up at the sky, while this girl was looking down at the ground in front of her, watching where she was going. She might be walking back to her car or something, you know that. I ran through a number of crazy scenarios in my head. Maybe she had some disease that meant she couldn't be out in the sun. Maybe she was looking for a buried treasure in the middle of the night. It only took a few seconds to dismiss these. What would the chances of them actually happening? I waited for a while as she slowly made her way down the beach. I didn't think such a slow walk could be for exercise, but I had no idea what else she could be doing out here. Random thought, just enjoying the night, the moon, and the walk on the beach. Doesn't have to be anything particular, you know, but... Finally, she was close enough that I could get a good look at her. Using my Okay, that's not creepy at all. She was the most beautiful girl I ever seen. She was around my age, a year or two younger or older at the most, and in perfect shape. Hourglass, pair of tabernacles you could sing off of, as my Mormon football coach used to say. Her skin was flawless, if a bit pale, and her hair was very light, almost as white as the long dress she was wearing. So it is white, looks purple in this picture. Together, the combination of pale skin, light hair, and white dress made her seem to glow in the moonlight. I glow in the moonlight, but that's just because I'm of Irish descent and very, very pale. She was a fair ways off, and I was pretty sure that she hadn't seen me. I knew what it was I wanted to do. Hey now, hey now. You ask her name first, just as advice. Usually, at least say, "Hey, how you doing?" before jumping full in. Take her picture. How about just talk to her? As the girl was walking this way, I decided the best thing to do was put my camera away and wait for her to come closer. I didn't want to scare her away by running towards her, or to have her shout over the waves. I also have gray eyes, apparently. After I had patiently waited for what must have been 20 minutes, she was finally close enough that I could talk to her in a reasonable voice. Konnichiwa. Maybe it wasn't the most eloquent of lines, but it was all I could think of at the time, and it got the job done. She stopped and looked at me as if waiting for me to say something else. I don't know how to say that in Japanese. It's a nice night. It's warm, but not really all that hot. She nodded at this, but didn't say anything. I finally decided to cut to the chase and ask her the question that was on my mind. Again, at least you said hello first before propositioning. Oh, that's what you were talking about. So what are you doing out here? Walking. After midnight, out in the moonlight, and just like we used to do, I go out walking. Hi, otaku baka. Are you going anywhere in particular? I want to walk around this island following the beaches. Bitches. This island was very big. I could go around it in a few hours, maybe a little more if I stopped for a break. I had no problem keeping up with her. Mind if I walk with you? If that's what you want. I decided that I'd bring my camera with me, but I hid my tripod bag in the dunes. You know, you get that bag, you just sling it over your shoulder, man. They're not that heavy. This only took a few seconds, and we quickly started walking down the beach. We walked in the silence for a while. We could no longer see where we started. I looked back a ways and saw only our footprints breaking up the sand of the beach. Walking was great. But I needed to try talking to this girl. I decided to see if I could find out why she was out at night. Again, she could just be out enjoying the night. I enjoy the night, especially since I grew up in the damn desert. She stopped and looked at me. Is there a reason why you're walking down the beach at night? It's something to do. I see. Do you do this often? It seems like I do this every day. Do you always walk alone, or do other people come with you? Usually I'm walking by myself, but once in a while I meet someone else, and sometimes they decide to walk with me. Hint, hint. It only happens a few times though, and I don't think that anyone has asked as many questions as you. I didn't know how to take this and stood in silence for a second. Finally she let out a small laugh, hee hee hee, and took the initiative. What were you doing out here? I didn't think that she was interested in me, and so it took me a second to respond to her question. Seeing my hesitation, she elaborated. I think we both agree that it's rare to meet someone else out on this beach at this time of night. So, again, sir, what were you doing on this night? Answer the question. You're under oath. It took me another second to think back to what I was doing, but finally I answered her. I'm an stargazer. Really, I was out taking digital pictures of the moon as it rose, not using the telephoto lenses to look at the beach houses behind me. No. She looked at me questioningly, as if she didn't know what I was talking about. I find that a little odd, as I thought everyone knew what a digital camera was. Show her the moon. Show her your camera. I decided that the easiest way to explain was to show her some of the pictures that I have taken. Yes, I always do that. When people ask what I'm doing in the middle of the night with the telephoto lens outside their house, I pull my camera out of its case and turn it on. I switch the display to pictures and call up one of the last pictures I've taken, one which showed the full disk of the moon. Ha! So if I took the picture of her and did this, then she'd see herself and freak out, probably. I held up the camera to the girl to let her see the pictures on the screen. She took a good look at it, turned and looked at the moon in the sky, and then took another long look at the screen. The moon, it's so small. I didn't know what she's exactly... Let me try that again. Hold on. Drink break. Sorry. Reading can wait. Must read. The pictures are small here, but it looks much bigger on the computer screen. I tried explaining, but it just seemed to confuse her even more. So I decided to change the topic. Did you grow up around here? I did. When I was growing up, there wasn't all these houses and buildings on this island. She's a ghost! The only thing on the island was farms, and the farms were huge. Only 4 families lived here, and between us, we owned the land on the island. My family was one of the 4. We owned the southern end of the island where we first met. We haven't cleared all of the land, but we had a large enough farm where we could grow food we needed to sell at some market. Wait a minute, if there's only 4 families on the island, well, I guess you have the ferry to go back and forth. I didn't know that this island's population was so small so recently. I called it ghost. I knew that tourism could grow a population, but so quickly. Did you go to school on the mainland then? Once in a while we took the ferry over to sell our produce. We would spend a few days in the school being tested for psychic abilities, but most of the times we were homeschooled. Mama, who didn't mean to kill a man, Papa would teach us math. Mama played bass, Daddy played fiddle. No, wait a minute, I got that backwards. Daddy sang bass, Mama played fiddle, at least before they died. With this, her smile went away. It was obvious that this had been a hard subject for her to talk about. Yeah, I dropped the subject. It looked like if I asked her to continue, she would break down in tears. So I decided to let it go and instead start walking down the beach again. That's not changing the topic, really, but... I guess it said drop. I didn't know how much time had passed until we spoke again. Maybe it was an hour, maybe less, maybe a decade. We slowly made our way around the island. Walking, me, who's up behind her. If I had been someone else, I probably would have taken my leave and headed back for home. But there was something about this girl that made me want to stay with her. You're a teenager, same age, it's night, you're alone, no adult supervision. I guess what it could be. An aura of some sort of beauty, or of tragedy, of loneliness, perhaps some combination of all of them, and more. And so we kept silently walking down the moonlit beach. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. Oh boy, calm down. Anyway, and I tried once again to strike up a conversation. So, is there anything you want to do with your life? For a few seconds, she said nothing, as if I've said something wrong. But then she began to speak. Once I thought I knew. Hey, her hands actually changed position. When I was younger, it was like my life was planned out for me already. I would follow in my mother's footsteps. And what, marry your dad? I'd help out with the farm for a few years. Even when we were young, we had chores. But when we were finished with our schooling, we couldn't help out any... When we finished with our schooling, we couldn't help out even more. No, we could help out even more. Why was I making that negative? Eventually, I'd meet a nice boy. I didn't know who at the time. Thinking back, it probably would have been one of the Miller boys. They were around my age. We would get married and start a farm of our own. We'd raise a family together, a few girls. I always wanted a boy because all I had was sisters. Now, however, her smile vanished as she let the thought trail off. After a little while, she changed the subject back to me. What about you? What do you plan to do in your future? Do you have a steady job, or do I have to bring home all the bacon? Her question took me a little off guard, both because I wasn't expecting her to ask me the same thing, and because I never really thought much about my future. She smiled a little at me. At my obvious confusion. My obvious confusion reading the sentence. Well, I'm spending the summer visiting my family. When it's over, I'm going back to school. Are you a little old to still be in school? Well, state school. I'm going to be attending a university in this fall. I don't know what I'll do after that. I don't even know what classes I'll be taking, or exactly what my major will be. Sounds very familiar. This is me from the future, or you from the future. You'll spend 7 years in college, end up with a massive amount of debt that you still are paying off. Don't do it. Pick a major right away. Stick with it. Go with accounting. Why not accounting? I figured that when I'm not at school, I'll be living with my parents for a while. Eventually, I'll get a job and move out. As to settling down and starting a family, well, I have no idea about that, when that's going to happen. No. I haven't really thought much about it yet. I don't think many people have the lands planned as well planned as you. I think most people are just winging it. At this, she let out quite the laugh. Hee 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 hee. Is there something wrong with that? Ho 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 ho. No, nothing at all. In fact, I think I envy you. Why? Well, you can do whatever you want with your life. You can go anywhere you want. Some people would think that having too many choices is some sort of curse or burden. But I think it's just freedom. And that's a good thing. I think it's nice to live a life where your future is open, where you can do anything you want. Once again, I don't know what to say. And for a second, I thought we'll go back to walking in silence. But instead of letting the conversation falter, she kept going. What do you do for fun? Well, when I'm by myself, there's the internet and, lots of things. I like drawing, listening to music, watching cartoons, and football on TV. Translator note. Football, soccer, football. Probably football. And why isn't playing games and anime on there? Wait a minute, I'm about to call this guy and not talk about the kettle calling the stove black. Football. She repeated the term slowly, as if she knew both words but never heard them together in that way before. Yeah, football, the sport. You heard of it, right? She shook her head to indicate that she hadn't. How can I begin to describe it? There are two teams on the field at once, and one of them has the ball. The center hikes the ball to the quarterback. The quarterback can either throw the ball to another player or hand it to another guy to try to run with it. Or he could throw it to the sidelines to run out the clock. Or he can fake an injury. Faking the injury is the other football. Everything I said seemed to confuse her even more. But I didn't know what else to do, so I just kept going. Excuse me. Read that while I... If they can move the ball 10 yards and 4 downs, they get to the team. It was around this part of my explanation that she broke off giggling. Now that I look back on it, my explanation was sort of obscure. As we passed the night talking, and so we passed the night talking about many things. Mostly I talked and she listened. Sometimes she would ask me questions, and I would answer them as best I could. Many times that wouldn't be good enough, and she would break out laughing as if I fumbled through another explanation. Fumble, tuck rule. We spent the rest of the night like this, talking, laughing, as we made our way around the island. It's actually a little blonde, isn't it? By dawn, we had made it almost all the way around the island to the cliff, not far off from where we had first met. The girl started to climb back down to the beach below, but I stopped her. I thought we could stay here and watch the sun come up. To my surprise, her reaction to my explanation was one of shock. It's sunrise already? I have to be going. The girl came as a surprise. This came as a surprise to me. Wait a minute, the girl came as a surprise to me. If you're doing it right, it shouldn't be a surprise. Hey-o! Alright, I'm drinking that. We had been getting along well, and now she was about to run off. She must have seen the disappointment on my face, and she changed her tone as she elaborated. It's not you. It's just that I can't. I understand. I said, not really understanding anything. As she walked away, I searched my mind to see if there was anything I could say to keep her just a little bit longer. Suddenly I realized there was something I'd forgotten to ask her. That is a good... Can I say both? What's your name? When can I see you again? I realized that throughout the entire night I never asked her name. A bad habit of mine that I can't have whole conversations without knowing someone's name. So I asked her, almost shouting out the question to her. She stopped walking, turned back to me, and smiled. It's Mary Harper. At that moment the sun cleared the horizon. Its brilliance blinded me, and I reflexed, closed my eyes. I've seen the sunrise many times before and since, but I've never seen it as bright as it was that time. When I opened my eyes, the girl was gone. I don't know why she went, or how she had left so quickly, or where she had gotten off to. She's really just behind you laughing. The one thing I did know was that I wanted to meet her again. Having found out her name, I proceeded to look her up on the web. Of course, her name, Mary Harper, gave me thousands of hits. But after I narrowed it down to local areas, I got nothing at all. According to the online phone book, no one named Harper lived on this island. Not in over 50 years. After getting some sleep, I went to the library to try to find out more about her. Knowing she said that she was around here, I took out a book of the history of North Sound Island. The only thing I found when I looked up Harper in the book was a story about the Harper family that lived on this island in 1780s. They were wiped out by an epidemic that killed almost everyone on this island in 1790. Wait a minute, I could go back with 1780s. Okay, I was about to say, I thought it was 18 something. That same car keeps passing by. A lot of traffic for a small island. Anyways, epidemic, only a few boys escaped to tell the tale. Why only boys? It left the island empty, and it wasn't until after the Civil War that people settled here again. Is this American Civil War? So that would be what, 1860? Japan had a Civil War too, I think. Anyways, I looked through the book and through the records of people living on this island after it was resettled. Despite hours of searching, I couldn't find anyone with the name Harper. That night, I went out on the beach when I first saw her, hoping to see her again. I spent the entire night there, but she didn't show. I tried again the next night, and the night after that, and every night for 2 weeks. But after that first night, I never saw her again. And I never forgot her either. Ending to history. So, Moonlight Walks, version 2. So, for those who haven't played these games much before, a lot of times there's different endings. So I got ending 2, which was history. So if I asked her, when can I see you again? I'd probably end up seeing her again, maybe. Possibly. Or get a different ending. I about said when I got that, I thought that might have been a bad ending. For those who don't know, in dating sims, you usually get bad endings where you don't get the girl. I.e. my life. So, thank you for playing. Thank you, Cy Tom and American Bashuto. So, there's a quick look at the game. I don't know if there's any unlockables. Let's see what the extras. Usually the extras are just, art gallery and stuff. Story spoilers. So if I probably beat the game in more different ways, I'll probably get different endings and able to get, like, say, the story spoilers and stuff. Again, that's a fun game. Then again, as an otaku, I've actually played a handful of these myself, both PG and other. So, again, fun game. Definitely replayability. Don't think that this is all the game is. Play through again with the different choices, see what you come up with. So that was Moonlight Walks. Now available on OUYA, a fun little dating types. Well, I call them dating sims. That's what they traditionally are, dating sims. Anyways, I'm rambling. Anyways, thanks again for watching. See you next time.